Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Royal Albert Hall. The event, The Close Encounter, the Psychic and the Yogi. The host for this evening is Miss Lynne Franks.
Good afternoon and welcome to what I know is going to be an extraordinary event for all of us. We have quite a lot of different things lined up for this afternoon.
My journey is a bit different. I came from the business world. I started a business when I was 21 in PR, which you may or may not know, got parodied to the point of being a TV series. And I just want to mention it now because everybody comes up to me and says, is it true that Absolutely Fabulous was based on you? Probably none of you knew that, did you? I didn't say anything about it at all, really.
How hectic did it get in the 1980s? I mean, how demented were you at the end of it all?
It was pretty hairy. It was pretty hairy because I was rushing so much, so fast, that I never had time to catch up with myself.
We all know Absolutely Fabulous, and everyone said, yeah, Adina is based on your character.
Yeah.
Was that a pleasurable thing to watch?
I love the programme. It wasn't so much based on my character, but it was definitely based on certain similarities in my life. My world, definitely the 80s, the mad media world of the 80s.
Were you upset by it? Because I have noticed that your book, and here it is, it's called Absolutely Now, and that suggests to me that you're not all that upset.
Well, I'm not upset, and actually, I find the programme very, very funny.
Why were you so good at it? Because you were spectacularly successful.
I think it's because I believed in what I was doing, and I'm a communicator, and what I suddenly realised was, after doing it for 20 years, that I really was taking another look at it and saying, well, if I've got all that energy and if I could be successful communicating about things, why not do things that really matter?
This week, the story of a woman who had everything but felt she had nothing. So she gave up everything and went looking for herself. It was an expensive odyssey of self-discovery, but Lynne Franks made it.
Yes, it was stressful, highly stressful, and I was feeling emptier all the time, as over the last 2 or 3 years that I was working in the business. I think I really burnt out, and also I had lost my passion for what I did, and I'm a very passionate person, and I have to really believe in what I'm putting my energy into. And I stopped feeling passionate about fashion and glamour and supermodels and everything else that I was involved in those days.
In 1 week, I came out of my business that I'd formed that was a very considerable size and a fairly influential public relations agency in those days. I came out of my marriage and I stopped particular spiritual practice I was doing at the time.
The whole way my mind worked in this very linear, organised fashion, and that's what I had to let go of. I didn't want to be an anything anymore. I wanted to be a happy human being.
And there was very little awareness in this country that anything was happening for women. So I thought it would be fun in my naivety to create an event with no money, no staff. I'd left the PR agency and just thought, well, let's do it. And we did it. And for 2 days at the South Bank, there was absolute celebration of women, from women in technology, women in theatre, women in art, women in design. We'd had a wonderful concert with Sinead O'Connor and Chrissy Hine. What I started exploring and finding out was what was really happening for women in the world. That in the 60s and early 70s there'd been a very strong women's movement, of course, where feminism almost became a bit of a dirty word, particularly in the media. And women who were trying to create leadership roles were very much criticised by the media as being very confrontational and burning our bras and all that sort of nonsense. I truly believe that this is the time for women to move into their power as leaders in society. We're coming from a paradigm that's based on violence and greed and chaos. And it is not a world that I want to see my grandchildren growing up into. And I believe very strongly that there is a need not just for feminine leadership, but the leadership of the sacred feminine. That spiritual values come much more naturally to women. And I've done so much work with thousands of women now all over the world. And when I ask them what motivates them, what inspires them, rarely do they say it's money or possessions or power. That doesn't mean to say they don't want a good life, but what they want is to be part of community, to contribute, to feel fulfilled, personally fulfilled, and to have a connection with the divine, which they're not finding through the traditional religions. So bringing all those things together in community has really become my life's work. To get out in as wide a way as I can the possibilities to women that they can move and into a higher place of being. Because the only thing that ever holds women back is their own lack of confidence and self-esteem. That's the only thing. Some of us have more male and female inside us, some have more, we can go into all that stuff, the left brain, the right brain. But the fact is, there is a different way of doing things, which is a way of cooperation. It's a way of creating peace. It's a way of leadership. It's a way of making a difference in our communities. And I believe that the reason there aren't more women that are perhaps heading up Fortune 500 companies or running governments and running countries is because we choose to do things a different way.
The pattern that happens with these children is they're uneducated, they start work early, their health goes, they marry young, they have too many children young. Those children again go into this form of slave labour. It's a continual pattern that until changes are made by demands from the consumer and from the retailers and from the manufacturers that are buying these goods, nothing can be done to change this. Christian Aid, which has immense power in the churches throughout the UK, produced a document last October many of you may have seen called the Global Supermarket. It argues that supermarkets have the money, the muscle and the mechanisms to guarantee a better deal for the third world producers. They say the top 10 supermarkets in this country have an annual turnover equal to the income of the world's poorest 35 countries.
I think that the more that I can experience and widen my terms of references and learn about the world, I can bring those stories back to others and inspire them. I'm going on my own with a group of people I don't know, 10, 12 people, into the rainforest to have an extraordinary adventure. And everybody should be doing things like that, where we can, not that we should all be using up even more planetary fuel to travel all over the world, but we should all be challenging ourselves. And again, particularly women. So I suppose the adventures and experiences I have, I hope will be part of my work with Seed, with Grow, and with empowering women about what we can do. We can do really anything.